In the annals of Finnish history, few events have left as indelible a mark as the tragedy that unfolded on September 23, 2008, in the quiet town of Kauhajoki. Matti Juhani Saari, a 22-year-old culinary student, carried out one of Finland's most shocking and devastating school shootings. Beneath his seemingly unremarkable exterior lurked a mind consumed by darkness, resentment, and a desire to leave a bloody mark on the world. This is the chilling story of a young man's descent into violence and the harrowing day that changed Kauhajoki forever. Matti Juhani Saari was born on May 20, 1986, in southern Finland. To those around him, Saari appeared to be an ordinary young man, albeit quiet and introverted. He grew up in a typical Finnish household and attended school like any other child. However, as he matured, cracks began to appear in the facade of normalcy. Saari struggled with feelings of isolation and inadequacy. Described by former classmates as a loner, he rarely formed close relationships and seemed disconnected from his peers. He developed an intense interest in firearms and violence, an obsession that would later take on a chilling significance. Saari was also known to harbor nihilistic beliefs, often expressing disdain for humanity and life itself. His academic journey was uneventful, though he eventually enrolled at Seinäjoki University of Applied Sciences to study hospitality and catering. It was here, in the seemingly mundane setting of a culinary program, that Saari began to plan the horrific act that would make him infamous. In the months leading up to the attack, Saari's behavior grew increasingly erratic and alarming. He became an active participant in online forums dedicated to firearms and violent ideologies. Using various aliases, Saari posted videos and messages that glorified mass shootings, drawing inspiration from previous perpetrators such as Pekka Erik Ovanen, the shooter behind the Jokla school massacre in 2007. In these videos, Saari could be seen firing a pistol at a local shooting range, dressed in black and often wearing sunglasses. His cryptic messages, laced with references to death and destruction, hinted at his sinister intentions. One chilling message read, "You will die next." Despite these red flags, Saari's actions did not initially raise significant concern. He legally obtained a Walther P22 pistol in August 2008, passing the necessary background checks. This glaring oversight in the system would prove catastrophic. September 23, 2008, began like any other day at the Kauhajoki School of Hospitality. Students and staff went about their routines, unaware of the storm brewing within their midst. Saari arrived on campus armed with his Walther P22 pistol and a backpack containing over 500 rounds of ammunition. At approximately 10 a.m., Saari entered a classroom where students were taking an exam. Without warning, he opened fire, his shots shattering the morning calm. Chaos erupted as students scrambled to escape the onslaught. Saari's cold precision and lack of hesitation revealed the extent of his premeditation. He moved methodically, shooting at anyone in his path. 9 students and 1 teacher were killed in the rampage, their lives cut short in an instant. Saari then set fires in the classroom, using gasoline to ensure maximum destruction. The smoke and flames added to the chaos, making rescue efforts even more challenging for first responders. Saari's attack was not a moment of impulsive rage but the culmination of meticulous planning. His actions mirrored those of previous mass shooters, reflecting a desire to not only kill but also to leave behind a spectacle. He had recorded a series of disturbing videos in the days leading up to the attack, some of which were uploaded online. In these videos, Saari expressed his nihilistic worldview and his disdain for society. Authorities later discovered notes and messages indicating that Saari viewed himself as part of a broader movement of violence and destruction. His fascination with previous school shooters, coupled with his belief in the inevitability of death, fueled his deadly resolve. As police and emergency responders arrived on the scene, Saari turned his weapon on himself. He shot himself in the head but initially survived the self-inflicted wound. He was rushed to a hospital in Tampere, where doctors fought to save his life. However, Saari succumbed to his injuries later that evening, taking with him the full extent of his motivations and thoughts. The aftermath of Saari's attack left a community shattered. Families mourned the loss of their loved ones, their lives forever changed by the senseless violence. Survivors grappled with trauma, their memories of that horrific day etched into their minds. The Kauhajoki school shooting sent shockwaves throughout Finland, a country known for its tranquility and low crime rates. The tragedy raised urgent questions about gun control, mental health, and the societal factors that contribute to such acts of violence. Finland's relatively lax firearm regulations came under intense scrutiny, as did the process by which individuals like Sari could legally obtain weapons. In the wake of the shooting, the Finnish government implemented stricter gun control measures, including raising the minimum age for handgun ownership and tightening background checks. These measures, while necessary, came too late for the victims of Kauhajoki. Despite extensive investigations, many questions about Matti Saari's motives remain unanswered. What drove this seemingly ordinary young man to commit such a heinous act? Was it a product of his isolation, his nihilistic beliefs, or a deeper, unaddressed mental illness? While pieces of the puzzle have been uncovered, the full picture of Saari's mind remains elusive. Psychologists have speculated that Saari's actions were fueled by a desire for notoriety and a deep-seated resentment toward society. His meticulous planning and deliberate targeting of his peers suggest a calculated attempt to assert control and inflict maximum pain. Yet, the precise origins of his anger and despair remain shrouded in mystery. The scars left by the Kauhajoki school shooting are still visible in the town and beyond. Memorials and vigils have been held to honor the victims, their names etched into the collective memory of a grieving nation. Survivors and families of the deceased continue to seek healing, though the pain of their loss is immeasurable. For Finland, the tragedy was a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the devastating consequences of unchecked violence. It underscored the importance of early intervention, mental health support, and vigilance in preventing future atrocities. The Kauhajoki shooting remains one of the darkest chapters in Finnish history. Its repercussions extended far beyond the town, casting a shadow over a nation grappling with the reality of a modern tragedy within its borders. The weeks and months following the massacre were marked by a profound national introspection, as Finland sought to understand how such an event could occur in its seemingly peaceful society. In the immediate aftermath, Finnish leaders faced the daunting task of addressing the public's grief and outrage. President Tarja Halonen and Prime Minister Matti Vanhanen offered their condolences, visiting Kauhajoki and meeting with survivors and the victims' families. The tragedy prompted widespread calls for change, as citizens demanded reforms to prevent such violence from happening again. A critical focus of the discussion was Finland's firearm laws. At the time, Finland had one of the highest rates of gun ownership in the world, a legacy of its hunting culture and tradition of military conscription. However, the ease with which individuals like Matti Saari could acquire firearms shocked the public. Critics argued that existing regulations were insufficient to identify and restrict potentially dangerous individuals. The government responded by enacting stricter gun control measures, including raising the minimum age for handgun ownership from 15 to 20 and requiring applicants to undergo psychological evaluations. These changes aim to strike a balance between preserving Finland's cultural connection to firearms and ensuring public safety. Another significant outcome of the Kauhajoki tragedy was the renewed emphasis on mental health awareness. Saari's behavior in the months leading up to the shooting, including his online activity and troubling statements, revealed glaring gaps in Finland's ability to identify and intervene with individuals at risk of committing acts of violence. Mental health professionals stressed the need for earlier detection and treatment of individuals displaying signs of isolation, aggression, or suicidal ideation. Schools, workplaces, and communities were encouraged to foster environments where such issues could be openly discussed and addressed. Despite these efforts, critics argued that systemic challenges remained. Access to mental health services, particularly in rural areas like Kauhajoki, was limited. Long wait times and a lack of resources often left vulnerable individuals without the support they needed. The tragedy highlighted the urgent need to address these shortcomings, though progress was slow and incremental. For the families of the victims, the journey toward healing was fraught with difficulty. Each of the 10 lives lost represented a unique story, a young person with dreams, ambitions, and loved ones left to mourn their absence. Memorials sprang up in Kauhajoki and other parts of Finland, with flowers, candles, and messages of sympathy serving as small tokens of remembrance. The survivors, too, bore the weight of trauma. Those who had been in the classroom that day described feelings of guilt, anger, and fear that lingered long after the event. Counseling and support groups were established to help survivors and families cope, though many found that the scars, both physical and emotional, were slow to fade. As investigators delved deeper into Matti Saari's life, they uncovered a complex web of influences and motivations. Saari's fascination with previous mass shooters, particularly Pekka Erik Ovanen, revealed a disturbing pattern of emulation. Ovanen's 2007 attack at Jokela High School, which claimed the lives of 8 people, had left an indelible impression on Saari. In his online postings and private writings, he expressed admiration for Ovanen, viewing him as a kindred spirit in a shared mission of destruction. Experts in criminology and psychology examined Saari's actions through various lenses. Some viewed his attack as a cry for attention, a final, desperate act to make his mark on a world he felt had ignored him. Others argued that his nihilistic beliefs and deep-seated resentment toward society had driven him to reject all moral boundaries, seeing violence as the ultimate expression of his worldview. While these analyses provided valuable insights, they also underscored the limitations of understanding such acts. Saari's motives, like those of many mass shooters, remained elusive, defying simple explanations. The Kauhajoki tragedy had far-reaching effects, influencing not only Finland, but also the broader global conversation around mass shootings and their prevention. Governments around the world took note of the incident, revisiting their own policies on gun control, mental health, and school security. In Finland, the tragedy became a turning point in the country's approach to public safety and crisis response. Educational institutions across the nation implemented new safety protocols, including active shooter drills and improved communication systems. Teachers and staff received training on how to identify and respond to warning signs of potential violence, while students were encouraged to speak up about concerns. Despite these efforts, the specter of Kauhajoki continued to loom over Finnish society. Each subsequent act of mass violence, whether domestic or international, reignited memories of that fateful day. For many, it served as a grim reminder of the fragility of peace and the need for constant vigilance. Kauhajoki, a town of just over 14,000 residents, faced the daunting task of rebuilding its sense of normalcy. The shooting left a profound mark on the community, its quiet streets now associated with one of Finland's darkest days. Yet, in the face of tragedy, the people of Kauhajoki demonstrated remarkable resilience. Local leaders and residents came together to support one another, organizing events and initiatives to foster healing and unity. Schools held memorial services, while churches offered spaces for reflection and prayer. Over time, the town began to reclaim its identity, though the memory of the shooting remained an indelible part of its history. The Kauhajoki school shooting stands as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked violence. Matti Saari's actions were the result of a perfect storm of personal turmoil, societal failures, and systemic oversights. While efforts to address these issues have yielded progress, the tragedy remains a cautionary tale, a call to action for individuals, communities, and nations to confront the factors that give rise to such horrors. For Finland, the lessons of Kauhajoki have been both painful and profound. The reforms enacted in the wake of the shooting have undoubtedly made the country safer, but they have also underscored the importance of vigilance, empathy, and collective responsibility. The victims of Kauhajoki, though lost, continue to inspire efforts to build a society where such tragedies are less likely to occur. In the end, the story of Matti Saari is not only one of darkness and destruction but also one of resilience and hope. It is a testament to the strength of a community determined to heal, to remember, and to ensure that the shadows of the past do not define the future.